In the gym and in the car, with our advice you could go far. We fuck things up and we make mistakes, and talk about our sexy dates. We host events and go to clubs, but most of all we're still in love. It's getting hard for this to rhyme, just as well 'cause it's bed hopping time. Hello and welcome to the Bed Hoppers podcast. My name's Mr. H.
And I'm Mrs. H.
Joining us today on this 183rd episode is a very special guest.
It is a special guest.
You look like you're excited and nervous at the same time,
in
wife.
Equal measures.
In equal measures.
This could be a car crash.
This could be a roller coaster of emotion, a glass box of emotion, and other things of emotion.
Yeah.
High emotion?
Yeah.
Maybe. Anyway, I am very pleased and also slightly nervous to introduce our son, Morgan. Hello, welcome.
All right, how's it going?
There we go. He's added value.
He is exactly as I thought he would be.
Right, and that's all we wanted to say with him. Thanks for joining us today. That was lovely. Well, we thought we'd invite you on because you mostly volunteered and asked to come on.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet what you do, to be fair.
Cool, thank you. So we thought we'd use the opportunity to ask you some questions, let you ask us any questions that you might want the answers to, that obviously, related to the topics, not just random, like, where do I find the gold that you buried in the garden type stuff, and then go from there, really.
Yeah.
Mrs. H, you want to kick this off, right? I think you've got stuff in your head that you want to ask and talk about.
I have plenty, but also I'm really excited that Morgan wants to come on and talk about this for us, because I think you often hear about the perspective of, ethical non-monogamy and open relationships from, partners and friends and sometimes members of family, but you very, very rarely get to hear the perspective from a child. And I say a child, he's an adult, of course. But obviously he's grown up around us and our very open relationship. And so he must have some thoughts. And I'm really keen to open that conversation up.
Well, the good thing is that because he's staying here for a few days, we were like, if you do this, then you can stay here for a few days and we may feed you.
That's not why.
So it's just bored and he's just earned some keep, really.
But he's laid in till 1:30 today. He's got a lot of energy to burn off.
He should do.
No, to be fair, no, I'm pretty interested in this because although I'm involved with this and I've got my things to say, there's also people and parents and stuff out there who have the same thing going on. They're not quite sure how to approach it. Generally, I think it's pretty chill.
Yeah. And one of the questions I think we get asked a lot from people, or have done over the years, is, I'm a parent to a child, and, that child could age and range from, toddlers, or, they could be parents of teenagers. And the big question we always get is, do I tell my children, or do I wait for them to inevitably find out? How do I manage that? And it's really difficult to navigate. And if I'm really honest, one of my biggest regrets is probably not having a conversation with you sooner and, allowing you to have that information in a way that you would want to receive it. And I really regret not trusting you enough and treating you like an adult sometimes and having a conversation sooner about some really big topics. So now's the opportunity, I think, to kind of talk about that from your perspective and see how you felt about all that and maybe what we could have changed. I don't know. But we'll have a chat, see what happens.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess you did kind of, I could tell you wanted to let it be known without maybe sitting us down and talking about the birds and the bees and all that and making it super awkward because I guess, we did know. I'll be honest, my sister did clock on a little bit before I did, and I was a little bit more, I don't really know why I got a free house every weekend, but from that, I also had a pretty good time. Sorry, to say.
No,
we noticed. I remember, the amount of parties that randomly started at our house also increased.
I guess, and it was kind of like an unspoken thing at that point because it was like, we're both kind of having a good time. You're going to go away and I'm going to chill here. And it was like, I actually kind of enjoyed it. I was like, you know what? I don't really know that much about it, but my sister and I were kind of like, what is going on? Why do we have another free house? And it would also annoy her that I'd have my friends over all the time. But it was kind of like a symbiotic, like, understanding, I guess, at that point. Oh, Jesus. There was that one time when I had a fair few people over, and then I thought y'all were staying away the whole weekend, and it was like... I hope you don't mind me bringing this up. This is
no, this is fine.
I haven't actually, since this happened, I haven't spoke about it because I just assume we're just like, let's both forget about it. But here we are.
Dreadful what he's going to say next, but carry on.
Well, I suspect he's referring to the moment where we rocked up outside with our friend, dropped us off, back from a party, half in fancy dress.
Yeah.
Steampunk it was, and at about 4,000 people come out of our house. I mean, that's an exaggeration, obviously. But it was like
5,000.
You know when you see like a clown car sketch and clowns keep fucking pouring out of it? That's what our house was like, with just...
You was the one coming out the car. So.
Yeah, you were the ones. There was, honestly, it was like an unlimited supply of teenagers streaming out of our house. Yeah.
Yeah.
But however, you tell us, what was the night?
I mean... It wasn't a normal weekend. Like, usually it's just like my mates come over, 10 of them or so, just the homies, and we have a good time. But this time, someone else came over and they drove, but they also went to pick someone up. This is kind of how the night conspired into doom.
Oh my God.
Well, doom. But nah. Well, obviously, I'm not going to say his name and
no.
Just leave it at this conversation. But he basically crashed his car in the midst of picking this person up, came back, and I was like, dude, I don't know what to do here. It's like late. Shouldn't even be driving. My mum's gonna fucking kill me. And I was like, well, you can't really park a crash car here because my mum's gonna fucking kill me. And like it was a whole like, what the hell, dude? Like, everyone was just chilling, and then he crashed his car. So then everyone was like pranging out, and there was more people here than usual. So I was like, just calm down, dude. Fuck down and just sort yourself out. And then I look at my phone, like 5 minutes ago, my mum had messaged me saying, we'll be about 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm like, fuck's sake. So I was just like, everyone's got to go. Get out of the house, man. And then there was like people upstairs and outside and stuff. They're running down and they're like knocking the pictures off the walls. And they were like getting up the IKEA website, just like, what kind of frame is this? And I was like, get the fuck out, dude. I don't know, just go. And then literally as they like touch the handle, they open the door on the other side. And then it was it's like, you know, the Spider-Man meme where they're both like pointing at each other. It was like, what did you do? I don't know. What the fuck are you doing? And it was kind of just like an exchange of like, I don't know, like a double door system, everyone walking in and out. And then from then on, I was just like, okay, well, I guess we both kind of know where we're at on that one. I kind of was like, maybe I shouldn't take the piss so much with the parties. And then I don't know what was going through your guys' head, but you definitely knew from that point on that I had maybe seen something you might not want to be seen. I don't know. Point is, I saw it and I was like, fucking hell, okay, let's just go to bed. And then we kind of move on from there.
Interesting. So that clearly was a good example then of, we hadn't told you at this point or been, explicit about where we went for the weekend.
I think we had been explicit about the fact that we were coming back, though, that we'd have definitely said that. Just your ability to listen, though, may have been impaired somehow. I think my favourite Morgan party moment while we were away, though, was when we had the hot tub in the garden, and you had like 1 million people coming in and out of the house, and it kept flashing up on my Ring camera. And the Ring camera gives you like a video clip of what's going on. And then there was like someone was just chatting next to the thing, and they're like, "Do you think Morgan's mum and dad have like sex in this hot tub?" And and they're having this really funny fucking conversation. But what I love more is that because we were up quite late, and I got a thing flash up, and it was like 3:30 in the morning, and it was I think you were like one of the only people left in the house. It might have just been you at this stage.
Oh God, yeah.
And it was you so drunk trying to clear up the garden mess.
So funny.
And it's just a video of you wobbling around, falling over in the garden, trying to put it all right. But after like the night, because it had flashed up with these, it must have been like 100 Ring cam reminders, and there were people dangling the edge over at the top of our bar on the roof. There were people jumping everywhere. It was just like madness. And I'm like, he's kind of gone a bit overboard on this one.
But you like messaging me at the time?
Yeah.
A little bit. We're like, dude, what is that person doing? We can see it on the ring cam. But you must have been a bit drunk at this point.
I think to say that you were inebriated was probably...
Yeah.
But I do particularly love you staggering around trying to pick up patio chairs.
Trying
and
to set it
at one point
right.
you sat on the patio chair and put your head in your hands like, oh, what do I do?
It was like proper sad Keanu, man. Like very, very sad Keanu. So I think that there's certainly been a couple of incidences where we've kind of crossed paths on our adventures, which has been quite amusing. And that sort of, you've been obviously having a party, we've been out, and you know we've had to come back. Well, we come back home because we didn't stay away that often, but we'd often be back quite late.
Yeah,
and that was quite interesting. So what I'd be interested to know is that, do you think parents should talk to their children about their lifestyle?
Well, I mean, like, everyone is a little different. All I would say is, if you don't, expect there to be parties and shit if you're gone. Purely because, kids might not be able to clock on so much as to where you've gone. They might not actually like care so much because they know you're safe and you're doing stuff together. But I mean, like, it depends on like how you want to approach it, because in terms of where we're at now, I'm pretty chill. I kind of respect it, and my sister respects it as well, but doesn't want anything a part of it, which is completely fair. So I guess what you should do is, I guess, don't keep them in the dark, because that is like, in any kind of relationship, not what you should do. Albeit it's hard to approach it. You can do similar things to what you guys did. You're leaving card games around and stuff like that.
That wasn't
Handy
on purpose.
clues.
That
It
was
wasn't on
just
purpose, no.
that was just your mother just leaving stuff lying around.
But that's a good way of doing it.
It's a subtle way.
hints.
Because like,
Yeah.
if a kid saw that and was like, "What is this game?"
Let's play this game with grandma.
Yeah, well, that would be a crash course way of saying it. But it's a good one, you know. If you're struggling to like bring it up, because it is a hard conversation.
Do you think differently of us as parents now you know what our relationship is?
Yes, but not in a bad way.
Okay.
I'd say it's like, you kind of like, people kind of need to like open their eyes up a little bit more and realize we're living like in pretty crazy advanced times, you know, like where we are now ain't where we were 40 years ago. Your grandparents' relationship ain't your parents' relationship. And my relationship in 20 years' time will be probably very different to what it is now. Because it changes, man. Like, it really does. And I don't judge you for the decisions you make. I don't really think that's right. Because, like, just because I'm your kid doesn't mean that I should dictate what you do with your life. So, no, not really. Like, in terms of, it's a hard one.
It is a hard one, but I think I'm asking because I'm interested as to what's your perception of our relationship? Do you recall sort of growing up really with us having a happy relationship?
Well, as in me and you, or you and...
No, me and Simon.
Yeah, dude. Like, there was no... I feel quite privileged to be in a nice, stable family with no arguments, no abuse, and no badness going on. And yeah, you seemed very happy. It didn't seem like you were not happy with each other, albeit I was also quite young and I didn't really know what relationships were at the point. So I don't quite even know how you guys, I didn't see a development into you going into a different kind of lifestyle, I guess. There wasn't any one thing that I saw that happened that changed anything.
Okay.
I guess it's something that you kind of organically grow towards if that's where you're supposed to be.
And do you think that maybe the people that you're friends with I appreciate you've had a lot of friends over the years and you continue to make new friends and so on and so forth. Do you think their perception of what kind of family and what kind of family unit you've grown up in is kind of difficult to understand?
Grand scheme of things.
Do you think they judge you or make snap judgments about that? Like,
yeah.
Man, Morgan, your parents are swingers. that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a hard one to kind of explain to your friends.
Yeah, that kind of came in parcel with why do you have so many parties? Like that kind of, I was like, you really want to know? Well, and then the next weekend they came again. It's not like they were like, that's weird or that's wrong. Pretty much like all of my friends really actually do respect it. And it's only really the ex-girlfriends that really hate it and say anything about it, because they're like, I guess they're living in the same world as me, and they see from me as well that it's not affected me in any kind of way, and they do think it's quite cool. They're like, one of my mates especially has said like his parents are they divorced and then she moved on, he's got a stepdad, and they're just kind of fucking miserable. They're not really in I feel like he's like, I don't know, maybe they may have something going on elsewhere. He doesn't know. I guess he just would rather they would express themselves in this way than be unhappy, which I am in total agreement as well. Agreements of.
So when you were in school and when they kind of covered, sex education, I think, and I think we've spoken on the show before about shows like Sex Education have been really quite groundbreaking in bringing normalizing topics, and they don't really leave any stone untouched when it comes to exploring topics that kids don't know how to navigate and what to think about. So when you were growing up in school, I'm guessing they didn't cover anything like this.
My sex education was pretty shocking. Like, they didn't really cover, which I don't know, it can be like normal. Like, they didn't say anything about masturbation, porn, or the things that you will learn in your life that you don't know about. And some people don't know how to deal with it sometimes, and some people don't learn until they're really late, which all has a big effect, or maybe they learn too early. So it's a hard one to guess and to judge, because obviously it is quite outdated. And one time they had this put a question into the hat, and then they'll pick it out, so it's an anonymous answer that you'll get.
Although, I mean, as teachers, right, they know your handwriting. Just putting that out there.
They do. Well, in this case, I was like, what the bloody hell is a flavoured condom for? Like, what the actual hell? And then their answer to that was, well, I guess you're just going to have to find out. And I was like, what?
That's why we had to keep Heimlicking them out of you. You kept eating them.
Jesus.
So I think it's true, because you do have to end up navigating, whether you want to or not, a lot of these things, and no one really sits you down and explains genuinely useful information. You're just expected to figure it out on your own sometimes. So I think why I like shows like Sex Education is because they can help teenagers and kids and parents even navigate some of the really taboo, I don't know how to have a conversation about this with my child topics, and bring them to life a bit and say, well, everyone goes through this, it's fine.
It's also a medium in which people kind of ingest it a bit better, rather than your teacher that's going to teach you maths in 45 minutes.
Trying to explain what pink condom's for.
So the delivery is always a lot better with a program like that.
How do you think we've been very honest with you now. Obviously, we've got to a point, I think, where we would hope that you can ask us anything. We
haven't told them we've got a podcast yet.
We would hope you can ask us anything, and that you would feel comfortable coming to anything with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to say, I do feel that I can basically speak to you about anything, like pretty much anything, whether it's drugs or relationships or the mafia or the current.
I'd like to point out that we have no connections or affiliations with the mafia and no understanding of how the mafia works.
Oh, yeah, we don't.
And we were not paid to say that either.
We are not sponsored by the mafia, the Yakuza, or any other international drug or crime lords.
Speak for yourselves. But no, all in all, I think maybe the reason as to why I'm so chill about everything you guys do and the lifestyle you live is primarily because I was brought up in a pretty chill manner. You know, I'm like very thankful for like you've given me total freedom within boundaries to kind of go where I want to do. Like I want to play guitar, I want to go out skating, I want to spend my time with my mates. I did that. I wasn't forced to stay inside and study because, I mean, like, I knew I had to study and I knew I had to work at this and that because of, you know, seeing you guys work, and it kind of went as a given. Obviously, Granddad as well was good with that. I had a lot of respect for the intelligence, and you guys are smart as well, you know.
Oh, thanks.
And like, I like what I'm saying is like, you guys like have this life, and I'm chill with it, man. You guys have kind of brought me up in the same mannerism as which you are living it, I guess. That makes any sense.
It does make sense. Thank you.
There'll be a translated version of this episode available in several ways. It's going to take a while to work these ones out. No, thank you for that, man. I really do appreciate that. What I'm interested to know though is, so have any of your friends approached you about the stuff that we're doing? Are they interested? Not that we want to, not like that, but have they had questions about it?
It's a weird one. They kind of like, I'm just being honest with you, they kind of like joke about it with me, just like, it's just like, it's nothing like super serious or anything specific. They haven't come up to me about saying, I think maybe my parents should do this, or maybe how do you go about this? Like, I'm thinking about doing this with my girlfriend or whatever. It's not, they haven't come up to me with any of that. Some of them also don't get it. They'll say, yeah, you gotta respect that. Yeah, especially as they told you, yeah, it's all good. But I couldn't do that myself. It's all completely off limits, which is like also understandable. And I'm not saying I would do this either. I'm also 24, so I'm quite young, like. Sorry, they did say I wasn't going to do any accents or fiddle with stuff. I'm currently coiling up the wires. So, this is my third coffee, so you're gonna have to. Sorry about that.
And you've only been awake for like 5 hours or something, so it's not too bad, man.
So it's all ahead of me today.
Wife, what else did you want to ask him?
So I think going back to the how can parents have this conversation then? So again, it's difficult to know when is the right time to maybe come clean and tell them. And I guess that the flip side is if you just keep it a secret and don't say anything because you're trying. I know why I didn't tell you. It's because I was trying to protect you in some way, not from anything bad, but because I didn't want you to think bad of me. And so it was easier to kind of put it in bubble wrap and not bring it up because I didn't want you to go, oh man, I'm out. I don't want to be, you know, I see you differently now as my parent because of this. And I think the media's got a lot to do with that because it can perpetuate the negative stereotypes that you see that surrounds the subject of, you know, open marriages and non-monogamy, and generally it's not favourable. It really isn't. And I kind of didn't want you to be swept up in that and feel that what we were doing was shameful in some way. So I tried to not to bring you into it by not telling you, and that was wrong. And I think looking back, that was not the right way to approach it. But my intentions were good. And I think when you did finally find out, my God, it was a relief because then there was no more creeping around. There was no more lying. There was no more, you know, changing the truth so that you thought we were somewhere else, just seeing friends again, you know. And inevitably you were always going to find out somehow. But if I'd crashed the plane myself and done that damage control of how you received that message, I think that would have been fairer to you. And so I understand why parents don't want to have a conversation with kids, because sometimes they might turn around and say, I don't want to hear this. Like, no, I don't want to hear any of this. But also some might be like, actually, thank you for trusting me enough to think that I might accept what you're telling me and treating me in a mature way. So how do you think maybe parents should try and have a conversation? Apart from leaving obvious clues around the house.
It's like, you know your child, man, you know, everyone has their own kind of relationship with them. Some parents and kids kind of talk about anything as it stands. So to bring up something quite heated or something you feel like might make them feel a certain way might be easier if you already have that kind of bond with them. And other people are quite reclusive with their parents and don't have that. And I'd say in both situations, it is still better for it to be out there. What if it went awry and I really didn't like it at all? Would you change the way you lived your life?
A really good question. I mean, we're all adults, so why? It's difficult. Why should we change the way we choose to have our relationship because, you know, our child doesn't like it? But equally, you don't have to like what you hear.
Equally, you don't have to like what your children do either. No. And I think it is a two-way relationship. And ultimately, as your children get older and become adults, they can make their own decisions. Now, you know, we can try and help and advise and support through those decisions. But, you know, there's going to be times when we don't like what the kids do. I mean, that's just life, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be relationships that you don't approve of. There's going to be people that you hang around with that you don't approve of. And I think there is something to be said for having an open relationship with your children where you're honest and you offer them the feedback or the advice, assuming it's wanted, and then you let them live. And I think the same is true in reverse. I think for me, honesty has always been the best policy because that's the way I was brought up. That doesn't mean I want every detail. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the difference. I wouldn't necessarily advocate for telling kids everything, but I think like having a conversation saying, look, we're in a ethically non-monogamous relationship. That means we do see other people in some form. I think that's a sensible conversation when kids get to a certain age. I think
it is the age part as well, I was going to say.
And maturity.
Yeah, because, you know, your parents are who you look up to throughout all of life, really. And especially when you're, you know, going through adolescence and puberty and all these weird, funny changes. It is a hard one to, like, if you are, like, I guess, living your lifestyle at an age where the kids wouldn't get it, even if you did tell them. It is a weird one, because they look up to you as like role models, and how you approach it with them is weird, because I guess if you have people around all the time, they just see it as people around all the time. But eventually they're going to find out or know or learn.
Or make an educated guess. They might make the wrong guess. And I think that's the problem where it can do damage. But my hope would be is if you've brought your kids up in the right way and you are honest and open with them and have regular conversations, then actually, you know, I would imagine that your kids are going to be much more understanding of your decision. Now, it might not sit well with your child's chosen religion or lifestyle themselves, but in a way, I'm kind of like, I'd rather be honest and, you know, and take that risk, because you're not going to change what you do for the approval of your child. But what you might find, the risk is that they may say, right, I can't stand what you're doing. I don't believe in it. Therefore, I'm never talking to you again. That is a risk.
But it's also a risk that if they know nothing and they find out in a, you know, not a great way,
then that's infinitely higher. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's that risk for me is, you know, if you choose not to tell them and they find out, then they might come back to you and say, why weren't you just honest with me and let me make an informed choice about how I receive the information, rather than assuming this is how you want, you want to keep it a secret, and how awful that is to find out. But all that time, your parents have basically been lying to you.
I think
it's a difficult one.
There is something actually within it as well, in that, so not just from the open aspect of our relationship, but actually you being Mrs. H authentically yourself, because, we've talked about it many times as a bi woman, that is an intrinsic part of who you are. And I think, as a result, that's really important to share that sexuality with the kids. Now, that doesn't mean that they have to hear every detail, as I said. I think there's limits to how much you go into, but actually showing that you're removing some of that bi invisibility and that bi erasure, and you're sharing your authentic self. Oh, I feel dirty having just said authentic self.
Get synergy in there as well.
Yeah, no synergy in this one. But oh god, no, I don't. No. But there is something in that actually it's good to be your true self, especially to your kids who, they grow up with you and they respect you. And, what if your kids were struggling with their own sexuality or wanted to explore? If their parents are being as open as they can be about their own, then that's going to make them hopefully feel much more open to do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just saying, just thinking that now, like if they're so open and in tune with how they feel, maybe it will rub off and help them to feel how they feel about themselves. And also it does help to remind yourself, like, the day and age we're living in right now, like even like 60 years ago, you would kind of have a relationship and you wouldn't have all the accessibility to, like, all these apps. Now you can put in your desired perfect person and there's 1,000 perfect people fitting the criteria of what you want in someone. Like, that is weird if you think about it, And it's also like there's like 8 billion people in this world. For you to just be with like one person forever can be nice, and it is nice. But there's obviously thoughts in many people's heads that are just like, oh, they're attractive, or what if, or like maybe you are better suited to this person, but you're just more attracted to that person. And like a lot of people have these thoughts and acknowledge them maybe and kind of live on, and because that's kind of how it is. That's how you've been brought up for centuries. But who's to say what's right or wrong in the situation? Why can't you see other people? Why can't you be with a person and share your love and time with them, but have fun together with people who you want to be with? And it is really like, there is no yes, no right or wrong. It is kind of, if you are both in that same headspace and situation, then fuck it, dude. Like that's how it is. And it may take a while to get there. And like, I'm not even going to get into the how you approach it with your partner conversation. That could be, that's not me. That's not me. I'm not for that. But I do recognize it in this day and age as someone who's 24 that, times are moving and different. It's more ignorant to ignore that than anything else, really.
Do you have any friends that are in like poly relationships?
Yeah, kind of, as such. Like, they get up to orgies and all sorts of stuff, and kind of like are quite open about it. And they've been with people, and then it just, like it did work out or it didn't work out. However it ends, they would always end up saying, well, I don't want to be polyamorous anyways. So regardless of, how it ended or how it went, the thought remains in that person's head that they kind of want to stop playing the field, I guess, or however you say it, Like, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know many people, actually. I live in Bristol as well, which is a bit flamboyant on occasion. Some of the shit that happens there. But all in all, no, I don't know many polyamorous people.
Okay. It's an interesting one because polyamorous seems to be a little bit more accepted as a relationship, as an open relationship style, rather than sort of strictly swinging. And I think, but it certainly seems to be on the increase with an increasingly younger crowd.
I agree. Demographic, it's quite trendy to be.
Yeah, maybe you're just not young enough anymore, mate. Maybe you've grown out of that phase.
Yeah,
Certainly when I was growing up and as a teenager, the words like polyamory and thruples and triads never, were never in my kind of frame of reference because they just weren't concepts that I was familiar with.
They didn't come along until the colour televisions, dear.
Don't get me started on this again.
It's interesting as well, in that lots of the media that we've watched with you growing up actually has quite a lot of this stuff in it. So things like Adventure Time covers quite a lot of things like LGBTQ plus, Steven Universe does as well. All these kind of things are much more prevalent than they were when I was growing up. And
it's more moral, I suppose, moral stories of He-Man, wasn't it?
Well, that was the legal change back in the, I'm going to go into cartoon history now, back in the end of the 70s. It was, I think, Ronald Reagan, beginning of the 80s, made some legislation that meant cartoons could promote a toy, but only if they had a moral message within them and they had some moral fibre. Hence why He-Man, Thundercats, all those things that came along had that moralistic. And today's episode, we learned to share. And Orko would come by and fall over or something. I don't know.
We didn't have any concepts of. In today's episode, we learned to share with other people.
Yeah, there was no. Yeah, exactly. Didn't happen in He-Man, or at least it didn't happen like from what we saw. It probably happened behind the scenes. Whereas now things like She-Ra's another good example of that, with trans people as well being better represented, bi people being better represented. These sort of concepts are much more available in the media. Not to say that it's constant. There's still a long way to go. And Star Wars fans are still moaning like bloody idiots about things being too woke. But it's great to see some of that stuff existing out there and being more available to kids growing up.
Agreed. So is there anything you wanted to ask us? No, you can't have a party.
No, you don't live here anymore. No more parties in here.
No, not really.
Accent.
Oh, that was nice and simple.
Well, we're pretty like we I don't know. We've covered a lot of stuff. We kind of just like understand each other, I guess.
We do.
In terms of like, just like we kind of just say it. There's no build up, and there's no like impending. I want to tell you this.
No.
Other than when you're going to come to my restaurant.
Do you want to mention your restaurant?
Yeah. If you do happen to live in Bristol, come down to Old Market, ill repute. We've got a little pop-up restaurant called Velvet Elvis. Just kind of started out. And, I've kind of been going through the menu with my parents and we're doing like loads of research on burgers and stuff. It's going to be fun. It is fun. Come down if you're keen.
So it's called the Ill Repute is the place to go.
Yep.
And the restaurant is the Velvet Elvis, right?
Indeed.
And the type of food is kind of burgers and fries and loaded tots.
Yeah, some chicken wings or something like that. It's kind of like classic American diner food made with love.
There we go. The menu looks absolutely banging because I had a hand in designing it.
Yeah. Indeed.
So, pop along to Bristol or Brizzle if you're there.
Yeah.
And you never know, you may meet some crazy chap with what I can only describe as a winter hat on during the summer.
This is
looks
your
kinda-
hat. Dude.
I know, it looks like Harry Potter. It looks a bit like, I don't know what.
He's ready to play Quidditch any minute now.
Yeah, it does remind me of. It's got strong Quidditch vibes.
You have to use your imagination. I won't be wearing it in Bristol, so it's beside the point.
Cool. So pop along and see Morgan there. I'm sure we'll be heading to Bristol fairly soon. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask?
I don't think so. I'm just really grateful we can have conversations like this, and my hope is that it will help maybe parents out there, or even, I don't know, younger adults with parents that they can't talk about their sex lives. It's really important that you are able to have honesty and transparency and feel like you can have these conversations with your parents and your children, because ultimately, what's the point in being a parent if you can't instill some level of good morals in your kids, and hopefully they'll grow up with a good approach as well. That's my hope anyway.
Yeah.
I like to think that if you become a parent at some point, I really, really hope that you are able to also kind of take this forward and even if you don't end up having conversations about stuff like this, but you are equipped at least to have conversations about the things that matter to help them navigate what is essentially a really, really difficult life sometimes.
Absolutely.
If you can't go to your parents, then quite tricky.
And also, the apple don't fall far from the tree. If you are a non-judgmental, happy-going person yourself, I can't see your kids being any dissimilar from that.
Wise words.
Very wise words. So join us next week when we'll be teaching Morgan how to navigate an orgy and, and explaining what flavoured condoms are for.
I've actually figured that one out.
What are they for? Because they never taste good, right?
Well, I mean, I assume it involves your mouth at some point. I am a chef.
Flavoured for a reason. You are a chef. Yes.
Oh, is that going to be the new burger? The pint of lager flavoured condom. Crispy strip on top of a burger.
You can reuse them. It's good for the environment.
Oh, God. That's definitely not something they need to bring in.
No. Perhaps don't visit the ill repute.
Ill repute does mean bad reputation, so I guess it's got it.
So yes, I just hope that this might help some kind of navigational conversations that people might be worrying about or considering, or wondering actually, what do I do? Do I have a conversation or don't I?
Well, I think if anything, it's just proof to say that you can have that conversation eventually and it can go right. But also not to, these are things where you need to be brave. But with all of those situations, there comes a risk. And I think you've got to be mindful of those risks. But as Morgan said, if you know your kids or you know your parents, then actually you probably have a fair idea about how someone's going to react and, will it do any damage? You can probably work that out. And I think most things, though, I mean, we've managed to talk our way through and managed to patch up stuff where it hasn't gone right.
Yeah.
So, I'd say just be as honest and open as you can be, but just recognise that you got to be brave to do it. And there's always a risk behind that stuff.
And Morgan did have a lot of parties, at least.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, the party king over here has done all right.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. So maybe you could just wager a deal of some kind.
Sort of like haggle.
Yeah.
We're going to go out and go to a sex club, and you can stay here and have a party. But is that basically
9 times out of 10 is a fucking deal.
Well, thanks for joining us today, mate. I really appreciate it.
That's all right, man.
Thanks for putting us through your burgers. They were delicious.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll have some feedback. But if you folks have some questions for Morgan, send them through to us. And you never know, you may get a 1-9 text message back with some random details.
I'm happy to answer any questions, honestly. I'm all for it, mate.
Cool. Mrs. H, do your thing.
Thank you for hopping into our bed.
So I just want to say a huge thank you to Morgan for jumping on the show with us, talking through all of this stuff. Hopefully you found that useful and interesting.
I found it really interesting, the amount of parties he had.
I know, I'm slightly disturbed by the volume of parties that are going on.
But probably not surprised.
Yes, I think having seen some of them on the old ring cam, as we mentioned, yeah, it's quite disturbing just to think what's actually happened in our house outside the confines of our own madness, right?
Amazing.
Yeah. But anyways, we got a few things that we want to wrap up before we let you go, right? See what I did there? I didn't really do anything. I just said stuff.
You did.
I know. It wasn't even a thing. So we want to say we've got Spicy Island coming up.
Oh my God. In a week.
Yeah, in a week. So and just over a week we'll be on the island.
Yes.
Which is going to be awesome. Really looking forward to it. I think we're pretty much outfit ready now.
I hope.
But yeah.
We'll have to be.
Mostly, yeah. But 92%.
That's a strong...
I think that's a strong... all we got to do is pack and assemble all of the outfits, and I think we're
there.
We're pretty much there. So that's going to be really awesome. Look out for lots of social media posts from us, or Kate at least.
Or from you.
Yeah, from me. Maybe, us too.
I might be in the background with a pina colada.
A penis collider.
Oh. that kind of island, is it?
Yeah, I believe it is that kind of island.
Penises colliding all over the place.
Probably not attached anywhere, just colliding randomly in the sky. Anyway, so we got Spicy coming up. We've also got our Neon Dreams event.
That is 16th and 17th of August.
That's correct. So the hotel part of that has sold out.
Yes.
But we do have tickets left for the club.
Yes.
So come along to VA with us. It's going to be a really awesome party. I can't wait. And so many cool people are coming along as well. So it's
and you can still
really
get like lots of fun with just the club entry ticket.
Yeah, I think if it's your first time going to VA, it's a really good group, a really good opportunity to have a look around. You're in our safe hands. Hopefully that'll mean something to you.
Maybe we're going to need big hands, babe. Hold all these people.
Really, to guide them through VA, which is really cool.
It's a really nice place.
We do lots of things like Zoom chats ahead of the events, and we do a Discord just for this particular one, and that opens up a few weeks before the event. So there's lots of stuff that'll help you. So if you're new, it's a really good opportunity. But if you're old hat and you've experienced stuff and you just want to come along for a great night, that's also great because it's a really good community.
Yeah.
Perfect, right?
Yep.
And then we've got our social.
12th of October.
12th of October. So we've got tickets for that available. I think we're about 70% sold out at this stage.
Cool.
But if you do want to come along, all you need to do is message us. You can do that on Twitter or X. You can do that on Fab, on Swing Hub or wherever. Yeah. Send us an email, send us a pigeon or whatever.
Yeah,
and
an owl, babe.
Pigeon.
Send us an owl.
Yeah, send us pigeons, owls, whatever, whichever your avian of choice. Send one of those and we'll send you the details.
Yeah.
And the reason that we do it that way is so that we're able to keep better control of who's buying the tickets, how many are sold and all this kind of stuff. So it means that we're just able to provide a little bit extra security and a little bit more information to ourselves about, getting the ratios right of single guys, single girls, couples and all that kind of stuff.
It's going to be an awesome night.
It's going to be a wicked night, I think, but it's distantly in the future.
Yeah, but that'll roll around real quick.
But you know what? I like having stuff in the diary. So I'm like, what are we doing over the next couple of months? And you'll be like, we've got this book, we've got that bit, and then we've got October. And I'm like, yes, that's going to be wicked.
You must buy more costumes.
Yeah, and that's in Southampton, by the way. So come down to the South Coast, enjoy it, make a day of it, make a weekend of it, and then come along to our social on the Saturday night. It's going to be
awesome fun.
It's going to be awesome. So anything else that we need to say, Mrs. H?
I don't think so.
We don't even need to do a thank you for hopping into our bed.
No,
because we've already done one.
Not.
And I've just done another one. We can keep saying it. That's like a mantra now. But, we're a bit tired. We had a late night last night.
Ah, yes. You had way too much rum punch.
I may have had too much rum punch, but it was delicious. I do learn. It's
do you?
I just don't adapt. I think that's the thing. But it was a nice night. We had a really chilled out night. Yeah. And now I think I need a nap.
Oh, is that what you're calling it?
Yeah. Are you you got a joke for us this time? You do?
I have. Courtesy of one of our lovely listeners.
Okay, cool. Go for it then.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I am stoically waiting the result of this joke.
All right, okay. Are you ready for this one?
Yes.
So I just ended a blindfolded wanking contest. I didn't win. In fact, I don't know where I came. Oh, come on. That was great.
The delivery was a bit...
Yeah, I'm tired. But it was pretty good.
It was, I enjoyed it.
Yeah?
It was a joke. So,
Thanks.
I mean, it has helped.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to submit your joke, send it through to us. And
I can ineptly deliver that.
Ruin that for you as well.
All right.